Hey guys, so the big news today is that my book, How to Make a Plant Love You, Cultivate Green Space in Your Home and Heart, is out. And the concept really is a little bit more like a relationship guide to living with plants. It takes on a little bit more of a spiritual and philosophical context to how we view ourselves in the world, but through the beauty and observation of plants that we surround ourselves with. And not just like the indoor plants that we have around us, but also the outdoor plants, and even the things that we surround ourselves every day that had been plants in their previous lives. It's actually pretty easy. You don't need much than patience and a few different products that you probably have already around your house. I actually do pre-seed starter, and that's actually just using a plate, a moistened paper towel, of course your seed, and some saran wrap or cling wrap, or even if you have like a plastic or glass covering that you could use. And that's really it. The reason why I start my seeds this way is that I don't have an extensive place to have seeds. And I also had some older seeds from like a year to 2 years ago, and I wanted to make sure that they would emerge from their seed case. So this is a cypress seed, a cypress vine seed that I have here. If you're unfamiliar with this plant, it's really beautiful. I first saw it actually growing in my neighborhood. It has these really beautiful dissected leaves and a beautiful red flower that looks like it would be great for hummingbirds. And then I actually saw this plant on the balcony garden of James in Singapore. So it was really lovely. So I wanted to actually get some seeds. Now, keep in mind that some seeds may need to be either stratified or scarified. And scarified, you could do that typically through a little bit of sandpaper and just getting off that first layer of the seed coat. And typically a seed would go through scarification if it's going through a winter, and it's going through a freezing and then a thawing, or stratification as well is if it goes through also a cold period, but you'd probably end up putting it in your refrigerator and then taking it out. So it's going through this cold and warm period, but these seeds don't need that. They're actually very easy. I started peas indoors, I started tomatoes indoors, some dill, and they don't need scarification or stratification. So basically, here's my seed. I only have one of these seeds left. And you're just gonna moisten the paper towel, and you're gonna put the seed on the paper towel, and then just some saran wrap. And this is just to keep the humidity. You don't need any light really for the seeds because there's no green parts yet, but you do need a little bit of warmth or heat. And the great thing about putting these seeds on my countertop here is you could get a heating pad, and I will leave a link down for heating pads. It's great in order to be able to get more roots and to start seeds. But I have this fluorescent light underneath here, and it gets really hot actually. So I have to watch for my plants so they don't burn. But the other thing is that it heats up this countertop, and it acts just like a heating pad. So here's some other cypress vines that I had, and they are well overdue to get placed into some soil. So you'll see that some of the seeds broke open, and you see that? Look at the little root coming off of here. And then here are the two cotyledons. So this is the first leaves that basically help feed the plant, and then it gets its original leaves afterwards. So I'm gonna remove this and take these over to plant them. So I'll show you how I do that. So like I said, this doesn't have to have any sophisticated setup. You know, some people will have shop lights, like grow lights that are shop lights that will go underneath a shelf or maybe down in the basement, and they start their seeds. And it's a great time to start seeds in the spring because you want to plant when you have the last frost, after the last frost. And of course, if you're living in a subtropical or tropical climate, you probably don't have frost and you don't have to contend with that. But I do, so I don't actually put my seeds out. And like I said, I don't have much space. So you can see here, this is dill, and you can see these are the first two original cotyledons, the little leaves. And now you're starting to see the actual leaves of the dill plant. And then you can see this is a tomato plant that I have. And then this is my pea plant that's probably ready. And this is a cypress vine, and this is a cypress vine. And I think this is a cypress vine. So if you're planting a lot of seeds, you're going to want to have a little, plant tag there so you know what you've planted. Or you could put a plant tag in here so you know what's on the plate. But essentially what I'm going to do now is take one of these guys, and I have a seed starter mix. So you'll see this one. This is the one that was available. The garden centers are all closed during the coronavirus lockdowns. But this one looks good enough, and I've been using it, Dr. Earth Root Zone. And it's OMRI listed, which means that it's good for organic use. Now, this stuff usually doesn't have too much nutrients in because the seed has all what the plant needs, and then eventually once it gets big enough you transplant it. So I'm just going to put a little bit more soil on top of this root so I can bury it. So I'm just going to go into this bag right here, take a little spoonful, just place this in. And it's okay if the plant is not totally upright or if the root is not totally buried, because the root is going to find its way down and the leaves are going to find its way up, especially with the light on it. And ideally, you're going to want the light to be about 2 to 3 inches away from the plant, because if it's not, it's going to get pretty spindly. Here I have a little humidity dome, so this helps to keep the humidity in, and you could like open and close it, which is kind of cool. So if you want to keep the humidity in all the way, you could close this, or you could open it and then let some of the airflow in, which is important because one of the critical things that happens when you start seeds, especially if you're trying to grow them in moist soil to start, is something that happens called damping off, and basically mold will come in and take over your seed and then just kill it. And there's no retrieving. You just have to get rid of the seed, you have to get rid of the potting medium that it's in, and make sure that you clean out the container if you're going to reuse the container. So yeah, this is basically it. I come in every morning, I start to do a little spritz to make sure that the soil is moist. This is an indication that these bottom leaves right here got a little crispy, probably because I forgot to keep it moist. But this tomato plant is going to be ready for planting, as well as this pea plant is ready for planting as well. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do this in my community garden or if I'm going to be doing it on my fire escape. And I actually took some of my dill already that I started and planted it outside. But this is basically it. It's really easy. I mean, some of these will actually germinate in no time whatsoever. And you want to make sure that you get a good grow light. This I'm actually using is a GE grow light. This was like an extra lamp that I had that was given to me. It actually is a little bit broken, which is why I have this on it. But like I said, you don't need anything too sophisticated in order to be able to start seeds. And this is especially handy if you're just short on space. And when you live in an urban environment, some of us don't have basements, we don't have large areas, but this is plenty to be able to start and to make sure that my seeds actually start in time. If you're a parent and you have kids, it's really a fun thing to do, even if you can't garden outside yet.